The Story of Me is brought to you by Liuna, Ontario Provincial District Council. Liuna, feel the power.
Greetings. The life path of our guest is filled with causes and activities as diverse as her many talents. Causes involving refugees, immigrants, people with HIV/AIDS, activities as teacher, author, and even flight attendant. Let's greet our guest today, Idalina de Silva. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here with you. Very happy.
Well, that makes two of us. I'm happy that you took the time to be here
of
to
course.
share your amazing life story.
Thank you so much for thinking it's so amazing.
So many hats.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever met anybody who's had so many professions.
But my dear, life is so short. You have to enjoy life in every single area.
I wonder if your background tells us why you've taken up so many different tasks in your life. You were born in Lisbon. Your dad was a mechanic. Your mom was a fashion designer. And you were the only child.
Yes.
Were you spoiled?
In a good sense. I wasn't spoiled to the point of being a brat, but I was spoiled with love and with affection.
Yeah.
And I always understood that I couldn't have it because my parents couldn't afford it. So it was, yes, I was spoiled, but not the bad spoiled.
But in a good way.
Yes.
You never wanted to have brothers and sisters?
I did until the age of 10.
Really?
Yes, but then no, I didn't. I don't know if you remember, but back in my time when I was a child, we thought that babies were coming from France. So I wrote a little letter to my father because he worked at the airport, so he
Yes.
could put it on the plane and would go to the minister in France, and I asked for a baby brother like my dad, blonde and green eyes. Well,
Wow.
that didn't happen.
No.
So I went to high school, and once I went to high school, I didn't want no more brothers or sisters. I was enjoying being the only child.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, I could see that my parents were making a sacrifice,
Yeah.
monetary sacrifice to put me.
So you saw it as a privilege almost
Yeah,
later
I
on.
did.
Yeah. What kind of child were you?
A dreamer,
A dreamer.
yes.
That explains a lot.
All the times dreaming.
What did you dream of?
Believe it or not, when I went to see my dad and I saw the airplanes taking off at the airport,
Yeah.
I used to think, oh, one day when I grow up, I'm going to be a flight attendant. Believe it or not.
I believe it.
But then I didn't want to be a flight attendant anymore. Then I want to be a ballerina.
Yeah, you wanted to be so many things. You once told me you wanted to be a chemical engineer,
Yes.
a ballerina, as you said, and an international police agent,
Yes.
a spy.
A spy.
Uh,
That was the last one.
Such
And
a variety.
I was already very mature when I wanted that. I was 15.
Yeah.
And my parents were saying, no, you're not going to be that. You're going to be a chemical engineer. Continue your studies.
Yeah.
And I was thinking in my head, I want to continue my studies to make them happy. But once I'm 18 or 19, I'm
Yeah.
going to do what I want.
I once asked you about your personality, and you told me that you were very curious
I am.
as a child, and you've continued to be, I guess, and a bit of a tomboy.
Yes.
Uh,
I like to go up the trees. My only problem was coming down. I couldn't do it. So they had to go and call my dad.
Were you a little mischievous?
Yes,
You were.
I was.
How did your parents react to that? Were you punished?
No, no. My parents never punished me.
Yeah.
My father just looked at me or cough and they
Oh,
understood
give you the eye.
the thing, right? My mom, no. She would say, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do with you, but one of these days I'm going to lose it and you're going to get it.
Oh,
That's what she used to say, but she never lost it and I never really got it.
it never went past a threat.
No, just a threat.
Yeah.
But I understood and early on that I had this thing over my parents, but there was a line that I should not cross.
Okay.
So,
So you knew the limit.
I knew the limits.
Yeah. Now you finished primary school, which was
I was 9.5.
grade 4, I guess.
Yes.
Grade 9 in high school, and then. you
Well, I
came-
was in Portugal.
Sorry.
I was in Portugal in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say that in '67 you came to Canada with parents. You were 14.
I was going to be 15 in December. I was
15
14
in December.
Yeah.
How did you adjust to this?
Very complicated.
Really?
I did not like it. I did not want to be here. I want to go back to Lisbon. I want to go back to my friends. I want to go
Yeah.
back to my teachers. I found the kids at the time very immature, not only in their age, but their knowledge. Their academic knowledge was very much behind what I was used to. I'm not going to learn the language. I'm going to be a rebel, and my parents are going to send me back to my grandparents. Well, that didn't happen. My father said,
Interesting.
my
For
father's-
somebody who later on became a translator and. So your parents were able to convince you to stay, obviously.
well, my dad and my mom sat down at dinner time and we start talking, and I knew something was coming because during dinner time, my father didn't talk much.
Yeah.
So when he started talking, not my mom, but him,
You
I knew
listened.
something is coming. right?
Yeah.
And he said, look, I don't know what you are trying to do, but you either smarten up or I'm not even going to tell you what the consequences will be,
Yeah.
but you have to be better in school. Your teacher was talking to us and they were saying that you are capable of much more and why weren't you doing it?
Yeah.
Because you're not going back.
Yeah.
My dad said to me, there's no way you're going back
You did go back at age 17 for holidays.
for holidays.
And you fell in love
I fell
with
in
a young
love.
man. You married him in '69 by proxy.
Yes.
Then he joined you. Eventually, after 18 years, you got a divorce. Then you remarried. But in the meantime, you received a formal education in Canada.
Yes.
You got a financial management certificate.
Yes.
And then you got a certificate in gender perspectives
Yes.
in United Nations peacemaking,
Yes.
peacekeeping.
Peacekeeping.
Okay. Another certificate in international humanitarian law and the law of armed conflict.
Yes.
I'm going back to when you were a young woman and you wanted to be some sort of
I can see you going backwards. And I can see what you're
some kind
doing.
of spy or working
Yes.
for the United Nations. Ethics in peacekeeping certificate. Look at you.
Look
I
at
mean,
me.
you are all the way getting trained or educated in the UN system.
Yes.
But you did also take an interior designer diploma.
Yes, I did.
Your mom was
My mom was not an interior designer.
she was a fashion.
She did her own designs, her own fashion, and she,
Yeah.
she was a, what do you call it, a seamstress?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So you did take.
I was her model many times.
Sorry.
I was her model many
Really?
times
Ah.
for
very
wedding
interesting.
gowns.
Now, after all of these certificates and getting formally educated, you have an employment history that has no end.
You said it because it's not finished yet.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, first of all, you worked for the Peel Catholic School Board Heritage Program. You were a Portuguese language instructor. This
Yes.
was between 79 and 82.
Yes.
Okay. You were interested in promoting awareness of the Portuguese language among children of Portuguese and other heritage backgrounds?
Yes.
So other kids, kids other than Portuguese?
Yes. It was on Saturday mornings back on the day, the heritage program,
Okay.
the Pure Heritage program. What happened is some parents that they were not Portuguese, but wanted their kids to learn another language.
Second language.
And they chose the Portuguese language. So I had three or four kids in my class that were not Portuguese at all.
How did you become a teacher all of a sudden?
I was not a teacher, no.
But you were.
I was an instructor.
Okay, so there is a difference.
There is a difference, right? But, well, because this is the thing. When I came to Canada, I had 5 years of Portuguese high school.
Yes,
Back on those days, the system was a little different, as you well know.
very advanced.
So, very advanced. So, excuse me, my Portuguese was excellent at the
Yes.
time. And I made an application. I presumed that they were short of Portuguese teachers back on those days. And I went for an interview. They accepted me. And I always have this, anything I touch, I have passion into it.
Yeah.
So my passion was to teach my language to the kids. And of course, the children were from kindergarten to grade 1
Wow.
because I could not be a teacher teaching a 4th grade
No,
or
I
a 5th
understand
grade.
that. You did this for 3 years,
Yes,
and then between 80 and 90, you were also doing work for federal and provincial government organizations as an interpreter, translator.
yes.
For 10 years.
Yes.
Uh,
From immigration, on Front Street, on Edward Street, on Davisville, 250 Davisville,
Yeah.
to the airport, to family court in Toronto,
Yeah.
and in Brampton.
So I assume that your English was fairly good by then.
My English was excellent by then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be a translator. You also did some interpretation for interpreter work for Police Division 55.
Yeah, that was voluntary work.
Yeah. And then you got a little more involved in the Portuguese community between 1990 and 2003, 13 years, freelance journalist with the Portuguese media publications.
All kinds of publications.
Radio, TV,
Yes.
newspapers.
Yes, I was interested in getting to know the community. And the only way that I really could get to know the community and the problems, the social problems of the community, because there were plenty at the
Yes,
time,
yes.
it was through media. It was by interviewing. It was by researching.
What did you write about?
Say that again?
What did you write about?
Oh, I started writing about interior design. And it was nice, but it was not what I wanted, but was a beginning. See, I always have a beginning to reach what I want.
Yeah.
So I started with interior design. And then I went interviewing people.
On a variety
And
of
I
issues?
took it from there. And then I had very much interested, and still am, in women of the community.
Yes.
So I had
Women's issues.
women's issues, all kinds of issues.
Yeah.
So then I had this column every week that would be related to women in our community. And I wrote about them.
Yeah.
Then we had the AIDS problem.
Yeah.
So-
we're going to talk about that one
Okay.
in a minute. But at the same time, while everything else is happening, journalism, between 90 and 93, you worked for the Canadian Immigration Commission for 3 years.
Yes,
You were a case officer assistant.
yes,
And also an interpreter.
yes.
Canadian immigration, what did you do there?
250 Davisville.
Yes?
We interviewed people that were going to be deported. Back on the day, there was a backlog with immigrants, trying to be immigrants.
Yes.
And there were a lot of Portuguese people here
Yes.
that they were in the backlog system.
Yeah.
And sadly, some of them were here like for 10 years, 15 years. They had homes, they had business, they were employing Canadians, and suddenly they had 30 days
To go back.
to go back. And I will never forget one specific case that we had. It was a young couple with two very small kids. They were here for 10 years. He was a mechanic, he had business, he was employing Canadians, but his wife was sick. She had a heart operation 2 weeks before she came to the interview.
Ah,
And the officer told her that she had to leave in another 2 weeks.
what happened to them?
I don't know. I never knew what happened to
Yeah,
them.
but it was a sad case.
But it was a sad case.
Yeah. From 93 to 95, you worked at St. Stephen's Community House. And at a time when HIV/AIDS was a huge
Exploding.
problem,
It was an immense problem.
even in the Portuguese community.
Yes,
Yeah. And you offered awareness workshops?
I did. Together with Esmeralda Carvalho.
Yes?
She was a social worker there. And she needed someone to help her, to
Yeah.
assist her. So I applied. I got the job. It was, I believe, a year or a year and a half contract. I can't remember right
You
now.
were there for 2 years.
2 years. And our job was to go to different community centers of the Portuguese community
Yeah.
and talk about HIV and AIDS.
Yeah.
Okay? We even went to bars and speak with men.
Sure.
We went to the bathhouse on Queen Street and Bathers and speak with men. We were really telling people
Yeah.
what's going on and you got to be careful.
This must have been difficult because one thing was to reach people that might become victims of this. But overall, the community, the Portuguese community, was just like so many other communities. They were not accepting.
No,
This,
they were not
the
accepting at all.
parents,
No, the parents, even the adults, they were not accepting that they themselves could ever get AIDS or HIV.
So this must have been a real challenge for you.
It was a very big challenge, but it was an humanitarian challenge,
Yes,
and that to me,
which is a field that you enjoy.
it touched my heart.
Yeah.
And I always saw me on somebody else's shoes. What I would do if it was me or my child
It's
or
called
my
empathy.
parents.
And that's a great thing to have.
So I had great communication with these people, you know, with the ladies. Very interesting because if we had a workshop, you would have 15 ladies, maybe one man or no man at all, because the ladies would come to learn and then they would bring what they would learn home to the
Yeah.
family. Men would not want to come, they would not want to deal with the issue. But then men were the ones that they were bringing the problem home.
That's right.
So besides being involved in this contract, I also was a volunteer at General Hospital. General
To
Hospital.
work with patients?
Yes, I
Yeah.
work with patients. Portuguese, non-Portuguese, Brazilian, African, I work with them.
Yeah.
And I have 2 cases, but one of them really touched me. I think it was, she was one of my first people that I had to deal with. And I think that because she was so young, she was 20, not even that, a Brazilian girl that came from Brazil to Canada. She got married here, and then she had AIDS, but she already had HIV when she came to Canada.
Oh, yeah.
So we are not supposed to talk with these people on the phone or anything like that. I gave her my phone. She used to call me in the middle of the night. I spoke with her mother after the funeral. It became
You
very
got
personal,
involved. You got
very
involved.
involved. And I learned I cannot get this involved because if I see 2, 3 people during the week
Yeah.
and speak with them, at the end of the month,
Well,
I'm going to be dead.
In order to offer some help, you need to keep a certain distance.
Yes, and I learned
Yeah.
how to keep the distance,
Yeah.
but be there at the same time.
Yeah.
Then I had this Portuguese lady that was at the hospital. She was very bad. She died weeks later. She got AIDS from her husband. The family told the kids the father died of cancer in the stomach.
Yeah.
And she told me that they were going to say the same thing to the kids about her. So much we could talk about.
Yeah.
Only this area is huge.
Yeah, and after these 2 very intensive years, you decided to take to the sky. You became
Yes.
In 97, you became a passenger agent with Air Transat.
I started there.
Let me skip to 98, where you became a flight attendant with Royal Airlines, which I don't believe exists anymore.
No.
Okay, so a flight attendant.
You remember that I told you when I used to go to the airport and see my dad and see the
I'm
planes?
making the connection.
It was there, always on my head.
And you decided to,
I decided to, at the time, you forgot something here. Back in the 80s, I was an interior designer with Cantu Interiors
Yes.
on Eglinton.
yeah.
And I really enjoy that,
Yeah.
very, very much. I enjoy that very much. That's another area that I enjoy still. But back in 1995, I
Yeah.
decided that I didn't want to be working or close to the Portuguese community for a
Yes.
while. I wanted to get out.
You needed a break.
I needed a break. And what did I do? I make a list of all the professions that I can handle. And one of them, I say, well, I never tried this one, but in order to be a flight attendant, I have to be at the airport and I have to be closer.
Yeah,
I have to be aware what's going on.
yeah,
So I went working for Air Transat and being a counter agent.
yeah.
And it was difficult because I started at 2 o'clock in the morning
Oh,
and I had no car.
you got the night?
Yes, I got the night shift.
Yeah,
So I heard one day
Yeah.
that Royal Airline was hiring.
yeah.
And
then
I
you
applied.
went to them. Now, Royal Airlines went belly up.
No. No.
No?
Royal Airlines
They were bought by Canada.
by Canada 3000.
which went belly up.
Big mistake Canada 3000 made
Yeah.
in buying Royal.
So, you were out of a flight attendant job
I was.
when in 2003, and I really want to spend a little bit of time talking about this one, you got a contract as a flight attendant.
You skipped something.
With a private Canadian airline company
Yes.
specializing in the transportation of UN soldiers. Here's the UN connection.
But before
Around
that,
the world.
you skipped one thing.
I did.
You did. One profession. Well, I had to pay the bills. And
You were an interior designer.
I was
before
an
that.
interior designer. So I went to Palma Brava on Avenue Road.
Oh, yes.
And we designed, Palma Brava furniture was designed in Toronto,
Yeah,
and it was made in the Philippines.
yeah.
So
But
then,
Yeah,
the flying thing was in my blood.
it was still in your
It was
blood.
very hard to give it away.
Now, this job as a flight attendant with this airline, military, transportation.
I didn't know
airline.
I didn't know it was going to be a military transportation. They called me for an interview, and
yeah.
to me it was a private airline because I didn't want to do no more commercial airlines, but I wanted to fly.
Yeah.
So in Toronto, it's very difficult to, in those days, to have a private airline to hire.
So you didn't know that they had a UN contract
No,
to transport soldiers around the world?
No.
What kinds of things did you do with the people there?
during those 2 years, now I can speak openly about it because they're not there anymore, the United Nations. We used to transport troops of different countries that they would have to go to different areas of East Timor. And we used to transport troops that were dying or sick to Darwin, Australia. We sometimes used to do, to recover people, Timorese, that they were hurt and needed some help at the UN hospital in Delhi. We used to bring food to the mountains and water to the mountains.
Yeah.
So there's a mix. We used to transport the United Nations director. We used to transport the ministers,
Yeah.
the presidents. So
Yeah.
it was very, very, very interesting. All kinds
For
of
sure.
walks of people.
From what I
Later.
read in your biography, you were more involved with the East Timorese than a flight attendant. It was beyond that.
Yes.
You got involved with the culture.
Yes.
You made a lot of friends. Tell me about this experience because you stayed there for what, 2 years?
I stayed there 2003, 2004, and then I went back in 2007, but not as a flight attendant.
No.
Yeah.
But just to visit friends?
No. Working directly with United Nations during the election.
Okay.
I was an advisor assistant.
Tell me about this experience in East Timor.
It's when I talk about East Timor, I feel like it was an old love, and I still have this feeling for this old love. So when I see him or talk about him, I get all, with butterflies in my stomach. That's the feeling I have when I speak about East Timor.
Was it about the culture that
it was the people were humble. It was being so having nothing and having everything.
Yeah.
It was the country itself. It was their culture. And what really touched me was the simplicity of life that they had.
But then you got to know, when you went back eventually, you got to make lots of friends and build relationships. We have a picture here.
Yes.
Of you holding a baby.
That's my godson.
A godson in
Yes,
East Timor.
Alfredo. His name is Alfredo.
So this is how involved you got.
Yes, I got involved with people there through people that were working with me. I did volunteer work in the orphanages and the schools, and also the communities that they needed help with kids. There was an Australian doctor and a dentist that used to go to Nafatu every single month, and I would be there. So I got really involved. I got to know more than I ever expected to know.
You almost became one of them.
I almost became one of them.
Yeah.
Because when I took the uniform out, the uniform of the flight attendant, and I would dress, a lot of people thought I was Timorese. Because, you get a suntan, your skin becomes a little bit more glamorous, and my hair was dark, and I used to make little braids and pull it back. So, and I used to wear certainly outfits that they had. So yeah, a lot of people thought that I was a mix.
I guess your friendly disposition endeared you to them as well.
Yes, but I also have to say it was not 100% beautiful. I had 2 incidents that I was very scared.
Tell me about them. Is it hard for you to recollect?
Yes, but I can talk. Even if things are hard, I don't avoid to talk about them because I am not a coward. So I confront the situation. What happened is that we had a car in Camp Canada, and we all share the car. So I booked the car that night to go meet friends at Hotel Timor. And that's where all the people from the UN used to get together for drinks, to talk, etc. I go there, and instead of taking the road that usually we would take, which was the Camaro Road all the way straight to the center of the city, I did a curve and I took the, they call it Human Rights Street.
Yeah.
I took the Human Rights Street. There is no lights, it's dark. All you can see is the moon shining on the ocean, but I wanted to listen to the ocean.
Yeah.
So when I get halfway, there is this man coming with a bike. And when he comes with the bike, and you don't drive fast there, you drive slow. Because number one, it's against, we try to respect their culture. Yeah. So I was going very slow. So this man was coming with the bike. And when he reaches the car, he throws himself on the ground and starts screaming.
In front of you?
In front of me. And I said, I didn't touch him. Why is he doing this? So in a matter of seconds, there were dozens of Timorese people coming from behind the houses into the street, asking me in Tetum what I was doing, that I had hit the man, and the man now needed support. I had to take him, or I had to pay him. And I understood a few things, but not everything, right? Now I'm getting scared. Now I have the UN ID hanging on my neck, and I remember that the first thing I thought was to grab that and put it inside my shirt, but I forgot to lock the doors of the car. So because I forgot to lock the doors, they opened the doors and they were trying to pull me out. And I think this angel, I call this man an angel, an older gentleman, he said, stop, 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 don't touch her. It's not fair what you guys are doing. So he came to me and he said, in Portuguese, was an older man, get inside the car and get out of here.
Drive away.
Drive away.
This was a setup.
This was a setup.
Yeah.
Don't stop. Doesn't matter if they get in front of the car, don't stop. So I did what the guy told me, right? I went straight where I was supposed to go initially,
Yeah.
but I couldn't get out of the car. I was shaking. I was crying
I can imagine.
because I knew that they wanted money.
Yeah.
So they were trying to get me in to get money. That was one, well, long story. Then another one is I was going also to socialize a little bit after work. I was driving the car, and this brand new car, like a red, brand new car, stops. And when he stops, I stop. He stops in front of the stop sign, and I stop behind him. This younger guy comes out of the car speaking in Bahasa, which is not Tetum, it's Indonesian. Because at the time you had still a lot of people there
That's
from
right,
Indonesia.
that's right.
So he starts telling me that I hit the car and now I had to pay for the car to be painted.
Oh,
So I called my boss at Camp Canada, and he goes, oh no, Idalina, what did you do again? So then he comes, we went to the police station, then they were explaining how he was there and I was here, and then the boss was really smart. He says to him, look, I know that you don't have the papers to be working in East Timor, so we're going to close this now. So, that's one of the things. Two things that happened to
Oh,
me
wow.
that really scared me very
trouble
much.
in paradise. I think those two examples maybe are a reflection of the poverty that existed. Eh?
At the time, remember, this was the beginning, right after the Indonesians were not there anymore.
Yeah.
And still there are a lot of Indonesian people.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you kill, for example, a chicken, for some reason, you had to pay for a pig. So
That's right.
this is the situation at the time.
After East Timor, you turned the page completely and you got involved with local politics, or politicians, I should say. You became a community relations assistant to the MP for Davenport, Mario Silva.
Yes.
This was in 2004.
Yes.
For 3 years, you
Yes.
were with him.
Yes.
So
But
you,
in between, I
Yeah.
went to Nepal
and you went to Nepal in
for
between.
elections.
Ah,
I did the same job. In East Timor in 2007, I went there for elections, and there was a gender advisor assistant.
yeah.
Then I start working came back, start working again with Mr. Mario Silva. Then he, in 2007, gave me time for me to go to Nepal and do exactly the same thing.
Ah, yeah, yeah. As an electoral gender advisor
Yes.
assistant. That was your title.
That was my title.
And then when you came back in 2007, you became a community assistant for MLA Peter Fonseca. It was
Oh,
a contract
yes.
for 4 months.
4 months. I loved working with Mr. Fonseca. He was a very easy person
Yeah.
to work with. He communicated a lot with everybody in the office.
And then you also became a community assistant advisor to MLA Laura Albanese.
Yeah, she was a sweetie.
So you have these 3 politicians. What made you work for these people?
well,
This is like
There-
I know that your job was what? Community related?
yes,
Okay.
it was because of the language.
Uh,
It was because of the language, one, and two, because they trusted me. They knew that I'm loyal, and whatever I heard and wasn't going anywhere. So to these people, it's very important
Yeah,
that they
trust
have
is
people
important, yeah.
trust. So they knew me from when I used to work as a reporter in the community,
yeah.
and it started with Mr. Silva.
You never wanted to be a politician, did you?
No, I still don't,
Ever.
ever.
Okay. But you didn't mind working for them.
I didn't mind working for them, no.
Let's talk a little bit about your volunteer sort of community involvement. You did some fundraising for East Timor,
I did, 2006.
and you're still doing it?
I stopped a few years ago,
Yeah.
but I'm going back to it. And then, as a matter of fact, 2019, I was preparing myself to start something else, and then,
Yeah.
with COVID, everything was postponed.
Yeah.
So I'm in that list of postponing things.
You've been a regular guest speaker at various community events. You were involved once with a program called Christmas Without Hunger.
I did.
What was that?
Because I think it was 1994.
95, 96, and
yeah,
97.
Okay. It's because on those days, there is people with financial difficulties everywhere in the world. Just because we are in Canada doesn't mean that some people that are Portuguese don't have financial difficulties.
Yeah.
And I knew that some people had needs. So I got together food, never money, I never touch monies.
Yeah.
And then I got Mina Jardin to help me.
The singer.
As the singer, to help me with deliveries. We went to various people's houses and bring baskets of food. Yes, I also have a very, very interesting experience. And the sad one, she went with me to this lady that needed some help. And it was a little girl's birthday. And the husband had committed suicide a month ago. So she was very concerned because the little girl wanted to go and meet daddy in heaven.
Oh.
So one of these things,
God.
yeah. So it's always people that need help.
Yeah, you were also a volunteer for the Police Victims
Program.
Services
Yes.
program in 93 to 95.
And my job was at night to go with the police, and if there was an accident, if there was a crime,
Yeah.
I would go with them. I would give, if it was someone that needed me to speak with them and give them, some kind of comfort,
Comfort, yeah.
I would be there for them.
Uh,
And then if it happened to be Portuguese, I would go with the police to the Portuguese family's house and tell them what happened.
yeah. Let me mention a few more things here that you've done. You were a director of Access Alliance Community Center, Canada Day event volunteer in 93, 94, director of Foster Care Project Advisory Committee, 91, 92.
Yes.
My God, the 90s were busy.
The
years for
90s
you.
were exploding
Yeah.
all over me.
You also did some volunteer work for the United Way Community Project
Yes,
as early as 89.
yes,
Street Kids International volunteer.
yes,
And of course, you were the director of the Federation of Portuguese Canadian Business and Professionals Association, which was the first federation of its kind
yes, it was.
for the Portuguese
Yes,
in
it
this
was.
country.
Yes.
Yeah. But I have a huge list of things here that I haven't read. It's almost as if we're out of time for this. But
Yes,
we're out of
almost.
time for this, but not for other stuff, which I
Okay.
still have here. You're also an author.
Yes, you can call me an
Yeah.
author.
No, you did. You participated in an interesting book, which was had to do with aging.
Yes. It was promoted by the Portuguese government.
Yes.
So this was for people that immigrated, right?
Yeah.
Young
Aging in the diaspora.
and the diaspora.
Yeah.
Yes.
And of course, you've written, as we mentioned, different publications in the Portuguese community for the past 30 years. And you continue to this day, no?
I continue to this day.
Yeah.
I stopped, there's been like 10 months that I stopped because of health issues, but I'm back again writing.
Yeah. Now, you wrote a book, and I see there is a copy on the
Yes.
table, Jerônimo
Yeah.
and Papagaio de Papel. How do you translate this in English?
Geronimo
Jerônimo is the name of a child.
Geronimo and the Kite.
Now, it was distinguished, this book was distinguished with honorable mentions, the International Library of Poetry, the Editor's Choice published Red Ribbon Pin, and the Prize of Portuguese Journalism Communities in 1997.
That was
There it is.
There it is.
And
Now, this is a story about a little boy in East Timor.
ah, Still East Timor.
East Timor. This was in 2003. 2003, I did a flight from Dili to Oekuzi. Oekuzi is the enclave where the Portuguese arrived first in East Timor.
Yeah.
So we had a break, a few hours break in between the troops, bringing back and forth. I went to the beach. I'm going to say very, very quickly. I went to the beach and I was listening to this noise of kids laughing and running. And I got up and looked, and I looked to my right side, and I saw this older man with a kite. And I saw the kids after him. So when they go by me, I said, "Hi, how are you? Where you guys going? You're so happy." And the old man said, "Oh, it's my grandson Geronimo's birthday. And his dream was to have a kite for his birthday. So I built one for him, and now we are playing." I said, "Oh, that's so nice. Okay, bye." So they went their way. I went my way.
It inspired you to write the book.
Inspired me to write this book years later.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're a divorced mother of 2 daughters.
Yes.
Amalia, residing in the U.S., and Idalina, residing in the U.K.
Yes.
Do you see them often? Or?
They are back now. One is back here. She came back to Canada to have her baby, was my only granddaughter. Her name is Daria. That's that little girl that's over there with me.
Yeah.
And she's here in Canada now. And Amalia goes back and forth to the States. She's here right now.
Yeah. You have a number of hobbies. Some are of a very artistic nature. You're an embroiderer.
Mm-hmm.
You design things, drawing, painting, crochet, metal, wool,
I'm a stitcher.
Plastic.
But basically, I started as embroidering because, but I do what they call nowadays freehand embroidery. That means there is no design on the fabric. You get the needle with the thread, and you embroider whatever comes out, right? And then there is another technique, which is painting with thread. And then there is another technique, which is stitching. So, and I love stitching because stitching to me is like a meditation. And during the time of meditation, because it is hard for me to do meditation because my mind is always on the go.
Racing.
So when I'm doing stitching, believe it or not, I calm down.
You concentrate
and my hands goes with the flow and the thread and the needle. And I get mesmerized at what my hand is able to make with that needle.
I've seen some of your work. It's fantastic.
And I have improved since the last time you saw some of my work.
One thing I noticed is that they all, you never repeat the designs?
No,
they're all
never.
different.
Only one. That's it. That one is done. That one is gone.
I also know, because I've known you for a long time.
Yes, you do.
You enjoy friends, obviously, politics.
Yes, I like to discuss politics. Interesting.
Yeah.
I love to work with the politicians. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I love discussing politics, especially international politics.
Yes.
I love a good debate with anyone that likes that conversation, but I have no desire to be a politician.
No. Now, you've traveled extensively.
Yes.
Yeah. I have a list here of places you've gone to: India, Nepal, East Timor, of course, Australia, Europe,
Indonesia,
South America, Caribbean islands, United States. You've pretty well gone around the world, eh?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you still traveling? I mean, with the pandemic, I know it's difficult.
I'm not traveling at the moment.
No.
But I have a list that as soon as everything is ready to go.
What's your first country to visit?
It's a country that I have been there before, but I want to go to an area that I really, really enjoyed and never been there in that area. I want to go to Italy. And I want to go north of Italy because I really enjoy the food from the north of Italy.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to go and learn how to cook. Can you imagine this?
Am I right to assume that you're not retired yet?
I have no idea what that word means.
Oh.
It's
So
not in my vocabulary at
you're
all.
never going to retire?
No.
It's good to hear.
It's good to hear unless I get very sick, right? And then
Yes,
I
yes,
cannot,
of course.
if my head cannot perform, that's the only way that I would stop.
Yeah.
But even if my body cannot perform, but my head can perform, I still will be doing something that's useful, not only to me, but useful to the society. To me, it's very important that I am useful to this world, because I love this world so much that I want to give something back. I have been privileged.
Yes.
And because I've been privileged,
Yeah.
I want to share with people, and I want to help, and I want to do things. I want to give back.
Would you consider that your definition of success, of your success?
It is my success.
Yeah.
When I define success, I don't define success by the measurement of the amount of money I have,
Yeah.
or a house, or a car, or the clothes. Success to me is how you feel within yourself, and then how you transport that outside of yourself.
Yeah.
So that's success. And to me, what I have, it's my success. It's
Yeah.
my story. It's my life.
Taking into account the huge variety of things you've done in your life, what do you consider to be your main legacy?
My main legacy that I think it's going to be, it's the tenacity and the love that I have for life. And I want to leave that to my daughters and my granddaughter. And I'm always telling them, don't think that just because you're stopping now, that you cannot reach what you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's a step. Sometimes we have to rest. Sometimes a step is too high. We have to balance. So that's what I tell them all the time.
A great
But first of
lesson.
all, never lose your dignity.
Mm-hmm.
They can put you naked on the middle of the street, but your dignity goes with you, is with you, and goes with you.
Let's leave this interview with these wonderful thoughts of yours, and with me thanking you.
Thank you so
And
much.
thanks to you as
It's a
well.
pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your remarkable life with me.
Thank you so much, Bill,
We'll see you soon.
for interviewing me. Thank you.
Thank you. And we say thank you to our viewers. Until next time. Thank you.